So, good morning, guys. Evening for some of you. Ken at Tortoise Capital. This is the Creativity 202 check in session for lesson 14 or 15. Um, it is October 2nd, 2022. I think it's 15. We're,
If
we're at the
I like
halfway
to
point.
say 15, 15, yeah, it is 15.
Halfway point. Um, so let's go around the horn and get everybody checked in and just see how we're doing. I'll go in the order in which I see you. Tom Sullivan, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Cooling off here a little bit, but everything's going well. Um, I hope.
Nice. Chunlong, how are you?
Hi, Ken. Good morning. All good. Looking forward to the next week. I hope.
Yeah. Did you like that session last night? Did that work okay for you?
Yeah. I really like it. I need to review that a couple of times.
Yeah, the swing
Mm.
trading. So just for the other guys too, we did a got a couple more some new folks to the team that are taking the swing trade um, through the Tharp Institute. So they attended the session last night where I reviewed Ken Hum's charts, and it occurred to me I had better give them a frame of reference before I started slinging lingo at them, you know. And that kind of turned out to be I thought, a pretty good overview of swing trading in the context of core trading and day trading and hybrid trading and how those things fit together as a unity, but also how it can be done separately. Swing trading is to me, the hardest one to do, but also the most satisfying one to do because it has so many flexibilities to it. Like if you're using weekly charts to swing trade, your state of mind and your outcomes and your targets and your procedures are going to be different than if you're trying to do swing trading one day at a time. It's all swing trading, but there is considerable differences in the approaches that are available. Uh, Whereas if you're a core trader and you're doing monthly rebalancing, it's pretty standard what it is you're going to do. I don't think there's all that many different ways to go about it. And then day trading, with the rate of decision making and the heavy reliance on statistical anomalies to create an opportunity and to act without further thinking, requires a completely different mindset. So sandwiched in between the clarity, if I can say it that way. It's hard to, in some ways, it's hard to say day trading has clarity to it, but there really does. So, swing trading to me is the most interesting and the most difficult to get your head wrapped around because there really are so many different choices and so many ways to continue to explore. You could spend your whole life just exploring the possibilities and never focus on some one or two strategies that really gives you the ability to exploit an edge. So that's what those folks who are taking the swing course are looking forward to. There will be and the fire hose started for them last night, and I'm going to try to start doing more stuff like that on the weekend sessions with Ken H. I think there's a lot of gold in that mine that would be of wider interest. So my check-in is that's my check-in. Yesterday we had four youth soccer matches. It was absolutely beautiful. It was in the high 60s, sunny. Kids were amazing. I was guest coaching some 5-year-olds for one of my one of my former players as a coach, and she was out of town, so she asked me to play. And it was so much fun playing with them little guys, seeing the world through their eyes. Oh my goodness, how much fun is that? Ernie, how are you doing, bud? Unmutify it, please. Ernie, unmute. Unmute.
There we go. Sorry.
Hey.
No, everything is good here in St. Louis. I'm wearing my Cardinal shirt today and pushed for my baseball team.
Alrighty. Tom Hardison, today you are Tom too.
Thank you. Good to be here too. Doing pretty well. It's fall here, gorgeous weather, and glad to be back into the conversation.
And Kyun, bring us home.
Yeah. It's not great, but it puts into play, hopes and fears, and how putting that out of your mind actually helps you. So anyway, it's gonna be good day. I hope.
Nice. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get us started for Tom too. Jeff and Sunal were under the weather, so they're gonna try to drop in a video later for us. So here we go. Get us into the room and make sure everything is on. Good. So here we go. Junlong.
Hi, good morning. First talk about last week. My word of the week is empty. The intention is empty my goals. The reason is I have learned a lot about Ken's trading strategies, philosophies for last 15 weeks. I really learned a lot, but it's not a progress in the way I wanted. Oh, I could say not achieved what I wanted if I look back for my intention of this creativity to cause. So what I decided, okay, I learned so much. How about get away from it? I forget that, do something different. And then I make a weekly plan. I just try to review the recording from other coach about market timing, what it is. We try to identify intermediate term correction and correction warning, correction over signals. Just found a way try not to think about RLCO, Bonnie event, all those stuff. But the intention is to try to get a deeper understanding of what I learned in the past 15 weeks. So I did what I planned to do, force myself to follow my plan, and just don't think about, collapsing dragon, emerging dragon, nothing about that. But actually, if you don't want to think about it, you think about a lot. That's what I found out. But anyway, I follow my plan. I get over the 6 session of recording, about 10 hour recording, take notes, I write down what action I want to take. Use yesterday, Saturday, to review what I did in the past week, review my notes, review my actions, try to consolidate the knowledge I have learned, try to resolve the confusion between the two methodology I learned from two different coaches. Resolved many confusion about what to trade, how to trade. Then right on the time, in the evening session, can talk about how the swing trading evolved from mechanical to the continuation to the first generation patterns, second generation patterns, then to the auto framer. That part really helped me a lot to understand what I have learned. That's, priceless for me. That's it, the last week. So my key learning from last week, though the market timing model I learned from another coach, is to identify inflection points. That's his word. What is inflection point? Basically, at the market top, the correction warning signs, signals. At the bottom, correction over signals. What can we say about those inflection points? That's a compounded critical states. Then I can connect what can teach, can system or technique, how to treat those critical states. That's what I really learned from last week. I think that's a good week for me. That's my work in progress of last week. And then I'll talk about some thoughts about lesson 15. I think it's about mental state. Fear is a mental state. Then the question is, how do we get out of fear? How do we get out of a mental state? I think it's set up a new intention. Think about responsibility. Think about accountability. Think about who we are. Then we can hopefully get out of fear and move into a new mental state. Then I think future, we have hope for future. Future is also mental state. If future is a mental state, we can realize our future very quickly, just like move into something, mental state. That's our future. If we think about how we human brain deal with time, there's no time, there's only no. Then why we need future? The future is no. Future is a mental state. Then I recall, Dr. Van Saab teach us about think about our dream life, think about our vision. That's about future. Then if we think about future as a mental state, we instantly realize our future life in our mental, in our brain. Now, when I read Ken's exercise, what do you mean about all in? All in is a mental state. All in is a focus with intention. If we set out our intention right, we focus on our intention, then we're in the all-in states. That's my understanding of that. But we often drift from one mental state to another mental state. For me, focus is really a problem for me. I cannot focus long. Probably that's just a false belief, but I need to think about that again and again. What I really found out really helpful is take notes. You know, I have a 2 master degree, 1 master degree in China, 1 master degree in Canada. To get my master degree, I don't take notes. That's me. I don't take notes. I have no book to review from my past life. That's me. But nonetheless, I get a 2 degree. But when I think about how do I focus, and I start to take notes, I don't want to write on paper. So I found a way to use Notion and then follow the Cornell notes. That's really helpful. Help me to focus on one small topic, one small goal, and then move on to the next one. Taking notes just connects the two. Maybe I can focus 15 minutes. Next 15 minutes, I'll do something else. When I come back, I read my notes. That's how I do can achieve more. I talk about my 2 master degree, not a way to brag or something like that. Just think about how I did before and how I did it right now. So next week I will change a little bit again. So for the past 15 weeks, what I do is actually the micro learning. I found something interesting. I found something useful. I want to know. Then I search page on the website. I learn about it. Then suddenly I realize I need to know something else. Then I move to the next topic. That's what I did. I think it is really effective for me for the past 15 weeks to learn. But that's not focus. Just jumped from one topic to another topic. So from last week, I really learned, I need to focus on one bigger topic, finish that one topic, nothing else. Don't deviate from my plan. So my learning style from daily or even hourly quest to weekly quest. Finish one. So what to do? I don't know. I don't have. I need to write my weekly plan after this session, but I remember what I learned from Ken. Take one and go. But I change that. Take one and go and focus on that. Don't change. Let's see what happens next week. I hope.
Ernie.
Well, let's see. I got a lot out of the lesson this week. It was really good. Neutralize your hopes and fears. I really thought that, well, I've been taking Frederick's exclamation to his troops at heart. I was thinking about it all week. You dogs, do you really want to live forever? And I think the thing that I thought was interesting, I don't know why I thought of it, but it's like almost 300 years later, we still kind of do that. When you address the troops, you dogs, except we probably, after a couple of hundred years, we're referring to them in the as being female dogs, I guess. But it's still inspiring just to be yelled at every now and then, called a name. And I thought that it was really good how everything was shaped together. I think that the thing that I really liked was that you kind of basically strip down everything. You're destroying your own dreams and worries, and it helps you to get into that creative state. You focus. You really start looking to see what's important, and then dealing with it. And you don't run away from the problem. You face it head on. If you want it to go away, you deal with it. You don't hide from it. And basically, that's what his troops were doing. They thought everything was lost, and they scrambled, went in different directions, trying to get away from it. And then he just gets right in their face and forces them to deal with it. And so it was good. I always personalize these lessons. And in my life, I went to the doctor last Wednesday for my 3-month checkup after my surgery. And I had a spinal fusion surgery, and they put in, some rods and screws and strengthened the spine. And the doctor told me that there was a little bit of a problem, that he called it a pedicle fracture at L3. L4 and 5 are okay, but L3 is the issue. So I literally have a screw loose. Fortunately, it's not in my head yet, but that little pedicle fracture is going to be a small problem. It could be a major thing. He said that he's only faced that in every 4 or 5 years. So I guess whenever I had my surgery, I should have asked him when the last one was, but apparently it was 4 or 5 years ago. He said that one of the things they could do was put a cage around it. And I asked him, why would we do that? And he said, well, we will do it if you tell me to do it, because if this is a problem, you're going to have a lot of pain. I don't. So that's not going to happen. And so after he told me about it and said that, I have my walker, and one of the things that I was doing was walking around the hospital, because I felt like this would be a great place to do my exercises. And, I was at the hospital visiting the doctor. And so I'm walking all around, and because my feeling is, if I fall on my face and have a problem, what better place to do it? And so I'm right there. So I went to one of the benches when I was in the hospital. I would go to that bench and sit down. It was really, a great place. You could see everybody. And so I sat there for a while and was just thinking about what he had said. And I thought, well, if I was in front of a mirror, I would look at myself and say, "Hey, you dog, did you think you wanted to live forever?" And then I thought, this really isn't that bad. This is not that serious of a situation. So I'm looking at my notes because I was writing down some of the things that he said that was going to happen. He said that scarring is going to occur from the surgery, and that scarring is really going to help lock in that screw. We're going to do some tests for bone density. I'm getting older, and apparently he said that there was a density problem where that first screw went in, and that it'll be good just to see if I will have future problems. So we're going to test for that. And he talked about aquatherapy, that this is something that would really be helpful. The buoyancy of the water will help with the walking, and then you build up the strength. And then he also was saying that here's some good things that have happened, that I had really was getting stronger in the legs and stuff. So physical therapy is working out pretty well. And he feels like don't have to go for twice a week anymore. I can cut it down to once a week. So there are some good things that are going on. I wasn't thinking about that, you know, whenever he first started talking about it. So it really isn't that bad, and I'm getting better. So I just had to stop and think about it, and so I'm feeling better about it. So that was the personal side, and so I was also going over the trader's exercise that so because I felt like I had done exercise one, you know, that was what was going on with my life, and that how I liked the end of exercise one, because the last 4 words is get on with life. And so I thought, okay, that's what I'm going to do. And so I met exercise one, and exercise two, it was hard trying to imagine myself as a ghost and what advice I would give to other people about their future. And what would be my first advice I would give to them? I really don't know. I'm still thinking on that. Um, it's just, that's for some reason that's a stretch for me to try to think of myself as a ghost, and then trying to help other people live their life as living beings and stuff. Um, and then the trader's exercise, I was thinking about whether I was really all in on the trading, and I have to admit I have not been. Not exactly. I haven't treated trading as a career or an occupation, and not even as a hobby, really, because I was thinking of some of the people that I know that have their hobbies. You know, some of them are hunters. Um, they talk about going hunting, and you know they're really into it. I have a friend who uh, flies, and he has his pilot's license, and he's gone out, studies constantly. I had taken flying lessons years and years ago, and I knew that I had to quit doing that because I wasn't going to commit to it, um, and that it. I knew that my limitations weren't, you know, that I wasn't going to put into that what it really required, because doing that, you have other lives that are in your hands as well, and having an airplane in the air. If I'm not going to go all in on that, then I had no business taking that up as a hobby, even though it was an you know, it was an exhilarating activity, and I also wanted to conquer my fear of heights, and so I did it. I took the lessons up to the point where I could solo, and but I stopped because I didn't. I felt it would be irresponsible for me to continue doing that. So I wondered, you know, have I really put into investing what I need to, and have I gone all in? And do I want to go all in? And the answer is yes. I do want to go all in, and I can do it. I think it's something that's within my abilities. So I've really been pondering that, and that's going to be a lesson. It's going to take me a long time to complete that. It's not going to be something that I can say that I've completed that. I've written those questions down, and and I've really given it a lot of thought. You know, when will I think that I'm all in, and what do I have to do to be all in, and how do I tell others that I'm all in? So that one, I'm going to keep thinking on that, and I'm looking forward to building on it. So the other thing that I think I thought about Frederick and the troops is that, and then with baseball going on, that this this was a team. This was they had to help each other. They had to work together. Whenever they panicked, they lost that cohesiveness, and in order to survive and triumph, they had to come back together. And so I think that I'm seeing the team aspect of that, and how I have to learn from others, which I feel like what we're doing now with this creativity group, that's really, I really like the team aspect, and being part of something that's greater than I am as an individual. So that's my reflections on lesson 15. Aho.
Tom Sullivan.
So when I was reading the story of Frederick's statement, one is truth for losing, you know, do you want to live forever? I kind of remembered first time I heard that statement. I think it was in the movie Conan the Barbarian, where Conan was saved by his ghost, and that's exactly what she said. And so it's nice to know where the phrase first originated at. And so a lot of this week, because I read this on Monday, and a lot of the week I was thinking about that statement. And yeah, during work, like if I had time limits and stuff, I started thinking and reflecting, like, well, I'm already late. Let's just imagine I'm already late to relieve the stress out of the situation of making it somewhere, or if the thought of somebody not being there and having something to bring back, the saying they're already not there, or using it in different situations, and seeing how it would cause me to respond and maybe take some of the anxiety and open up my mind a little more. And it actually worked. It helps a lot. And I reflected on, I think, when Ken talks about, I already feel the 1 hour loss in a trade. And so I'm doing some simulating trading and a little bit of live trading. And that's exactly, I'll just put in my trailing stop and let it run. And accept it, if it's going to lose, it's going to lose. It's 1 hour. I already lost it when I entered. And that helps also. And from reading, it seemed like there were studies on what this does, and it actually neutralizes hopes and fears. And hopes and fears are based on probably past and future anxieties and strong emotions, like emotions of attachment, which limit adaptability and make you react rather than respond properly. So it also separates your egocentric emotions, and it brings the ego into your life, which is always a battle, which we want to be the outside observer and step away from the ego. And by doing that, we could innovate faster and exploit opportunities and have swifter reactions or responses. So what I realized, there's things that we're afraid of, things, and that getting into trading, you got to accept it like this. It's a business. So there's going to be losses, there's going to be wins, there's going to be scratches, and using something like that in our life, in our trading, in different areas of our life, could help immensely. And a couple of the exercises during the summary, it was what are you afraid of happening? Well, and some of the things that you hope to happen. Well, and it was interesting because I've had bad experiences in my life. I had good I guess one of the things I always, for some reason, when I was going through this exercise, I felt a real strong attachment to money, and I think maybe losing everything and having nothing would be one of the things I would be afraid of. And so if I just release or dig deeper into this attachment, because I know when I'm trading, like I used to jump out really early from trades because I thought I'd have a win and then watch it run. But I think that's one of the things I need to dig deeper into. And probably because I came from a family of 8, and watched my parents as a kid struggle, and it probably has an emotional attachment in there. Maybe other phases of my life which I'm sure, because I lost everything in a divorce and some other situations. So I think there is a small something I need to release deeper inside to help me get through that area. And then the second was, let's see, if I imagine I'm a ghost and I'm here and I'm here to help people, and to adapt to the future. Well, what would I advise them? And that's what I need to do. So to let it, get over it. It's already over. Move on. Have a purpose and go for it. During the trader's exercise, which I found pretty difficult, there's a lot of reflection, like, how do you know when you're all in? And that was a good question. And I thought about my past, and I thought about my childhood and things I've done. And I think I knew when I was all in, when I would really follow through on practices and go out and do whatever it was, whether it was baseball or karate. I wouldn't miss. I'd be on time. I'd follow the plan. I mean, if it was a plan, like a structured plan, do the practices. And how does that change you? It makes you have you're kind of dedicated to something. You have purposeful actions. I think it makes you feel like you're involved in something purposeful for your life. What are you like when you are all in? I think focused. Sometime I think I got too focused, because then it would I'd be like always thinking about it. So that other areas of my life were not being treated properly. So I had issue with a little bit with parts. And then what are you? One of the things I noticed when I reflected, it was like I'd be involved in something and very purposeful, and then for some reason or another, probably because of the ego problem, that I would get sidetracked and slowly fade out of what I was doing. And so as time went on, I would always see people that stuck in there. Like I'd noticed that they would pass me up, but I'd be somewhere else. So then I'd fade back in and fade out. So I'd always fade in and out because I'd have an attachment, but I wouldn't be involved. And then I would move into something else and spend time there, and then I'd move back. And so it was like ego battle of this attaching to objects and then moving back and forth and having no purposeful direction. So I think what I should be like when I'm all in, that's all in and focused and practicing and sticking it out and knowing there's good times and bad times and adapting to the processes involved. What am I all in on? Well, I'm all in on family improvement. I'm all in. It's hard to say. I'm all in on trading. And how does anyone else know that? And actually, how do I know that? And how does anybody else? Well, the way people know is that you follow through on your actions. You talk to people about it. You get in groups. You have accountability for your actions. You show up, and you reach out if you need help. What do they do when they find out? Well, that's a good question because I don't know if anybody found out. So that tells me that I need to be more dedicated and more purposeful in my actions and to know what I'm all in on and to be all in on things. And let's see, how do you tell them? Well, you show them. You show them, you talk to them, you stay involved, and you put your feet on the ground and you walk the path. You do the work, and that's how you tell them, through your actions and through your conversations, and that's the way you show them what you're in on. So you build the bricks, and one brick at a time, and you do the work. Aho.
Ken.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, this lesson, neutralize your hopes and fears, a very relevant one for me and an important lesson. I mean, they all are. So everything, this is this week's lesson, and it's important. Some of the notes that I wrote down, this one in particular was, to achieve a similar creative zen, ruthlessly destroy your own dreams and worries. And remind yourself the best things in life are usually unexpected, and most anxieties are irrational, self-centered concerns that never materialize. I think I can understand that quite well. I tend to have tended to be kind of anxious kind of person. Anxiety was my real problem. I've gotten a lot better now, which is great through actually Van Tharp and through trading really, and the psychological part of it. But my wife would probably still kind of say, you've gotten better, but still room for improvement. Because she's fantastic. She always books the holidays. I would agonize for months over it and not do anything. But anyway, moving on. So I did the exercise. I actually wrote down quite a lot, so I'm just going to go through it as quickly as I can. Hopefully some of it makes sense. So like exercise 1, like Ernie says, I think the thing that is, tell yourself that they've already occurred and then get on with life, which is that's great. I think there's a bit of context. Maybe I'll backtrack a bit. Is that I've just done Van Tharp's peak performance 203. I think it's a course on happiness. So all that is going around my head, and I'm trying to absorb all that at the same time as I'm doing this lesson. So that's the background. Some of these things that I learned there I will talk about and bring through. Anyway, exercise 1 is what am I afraid of? So that my children will underachieve and struggle to make a living, and then now, with all the Ukraine situation and all that, famine, unrest, and that I don't have the ability or the skill set to cope with those circumstances. What hopes do I have? It's to be a successful trader, to be financially free, and provide for the family. So those are the kind of 2 things there. I didn't dig more into it. Then exercise 2, it's quite a difficult one, as to what advice to give them. But I thought, well, let's just do it and see what comes up. That might be rather than not do it. So this is literally a kind of brain dump. The things I did when I first looked at it, it was something like elevate your consciousness level, develop good values, things like love your neighbor, be kind, forgive, be kind to yourself, and have gratitude for all the good things in your life, which is Rhonda Byrne, the magic from the Peak 203 course. Find your purpose, have your tribe. And this next one is literally, said this to my children yesterday: never give up. Success is not about having no failures. It is to go, try, fail, get up, go again. Yeah, so those are some of the things for exercise 2. Going all in, I kind of looked at what are you all in on. I think it's to be really a successful full-time trader, which I kind of just jumped in and working through it. So, and also I noticed that in some of my trading, one of my trading strategy, I realized actually even before this lesson that so the strategy is an option strategy where you have a put against a long position. So you're basically limiting your risk with that put. And sometimes it requires you can do other things as you have that position to sell options, for example, to like make more income. And I realized some days I was taking a really long time over either executing the trade or sometimes rolling the trade. And I think I began to realize that that it had to do with my frame of mind, whether I was pessimistic or optimistic at that time. Especially if I'm, pessimistic or fearful of the situation, then I would overanalyze and not really pull the trigger. So it's it all comes back to hopes and fears. And then as I reflected on this lesson, neutralizing hopes and fears, I think it's about the zero state in a way when you want to trade. When you step into the trading pit, I would say we probably want to focus solely on recognizing trading patterns or price action. When you see that, it's like Van Thorpe's top trading task is that when you recognize the pattern, and then you just gotta pull the trigger and go, of course limiting your risk with whatever risk management processes you have. And then there are things like thoughts which come from peak 203, but Byron Katie's. I think my takeaway, there's a lot in there, it's really intense, is that thoughts determine emotions basically, and then she has a whole process to examine those. Just a kind of a big concept for me, really, because she talks about, is it true, and what is truth though. So so there's that. Also there's a Course in Miracle has this, what you think you are is an illusion shaped by your beliefs. And it goes on to say, nothing real can hurt you, nothing unreal exists, and herein lies the peace of God. So beliefs also plays into it. I suppose that's Dr. Van Thorpe's teaching as well. So yeah, I think so in my trading, for the slower positions, it tends not to be so much of an issue. But I realize I've been testing the intraday trading. I think it's best really to be in that zero state, not to have any kind of thoughts, or to be aware of just looking at the pattern, looking at what's happening there. And if you recognize a pattern to execute a trade, then just do it. And someone really said is that it's probably best to have no brains at all in this situation. Just react and go. Yeah. So in summary, I just end with this from a poem. The poem, If, I guess it says, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. I think that's really what what we're talking about here, about hopes and fears, and to treat those two imposters just the same, and best not to have them. Hope. I should actually add, it's not that it's best not to have them, but when you're trading, it's probably be able to manage them and not let it affect you. Hope.
Tom.
So this was a week full of reflection, both on artifacts, my key word from last time, and then just recognizing, my trade log is a record of artifacts. of actions taken, both to enter and to get out. And there's an opportunity to learn from each entry and each exit. And with the wonderful offer from Glenn, I took him up on it and had a very powerful coaching conversation for me on Friday about, okay, so what are the in his words, clear rules that I'm using to act against, and are those clear, and then how can I assess how I'm doing, both in my execution and my emotional fear, hope, and how then I can begin to learn what those patterns are, and then I can begin to neutralize them. So a whole bunch of things kind of sprang from that, because I've written rules before and shared them with my accountability partner, and he traded them while I was observing, and I traded his while he was observing, and that was really powerful. And I haven't gone back and continued to revise those rules, and so there was this big question in my mind about, so why am I not just looking at that and refreshing it daily as I create the artifacts and refreshing it daily? So I realized underneath some of these hopes and fears is this attraction and aversion and attachment. So I have an aversion to rules. That's what I realized, because rules I tend to interpret as creation from outside of me that I then need to follow, or something that I've learned about. So I went to look in the dictionary, and the Cambridge Dictionary defines a rule as more a principle or an instruction of what to do and of what not to do. I said, okay, so that fits better. Having a principle, having an instruction. And then this morning, it kind of hit me that, and part of this ties to my Aikido practice and some of my learning from George Leonard in his book, Pursuit of Mastery. It's what are the deliberate, intentional practices I'm committing to doing and practicing and refining, because it's in that deliberate, intentional practice, which each one's a new experiment. Each situation's a bit different. So I get to learn from that. And it activates, so this, the other connection for me and my leadership coach training, kind of trying to integrate for myself and for the people I'm serving, a couple of different networks that operate in our neurology. One is this analytic network. And the ways we learn and develop that are around reading, watching, hearing, observing, really powerful insights that help us think about things. And there's the empathic network, which is connects to our emotions and our kinesthetic ways of knowing. And these two networks toggle back and forth. And so what I've found is I need to activate both for me to truly be able to put something into practice. And sometimes the thinking about it gets in the way of the practicing it, because the way I think about it is a derivation, a step removed from the actual practice. It's after the fact. It's not in the moment, where the practice is in the moment. And the thinking about it gets to judgment words: failure, success, good, bad. The experiential gets to what works and what doesn't work. How well did this work? How well did this hold up? What could I learn and how could I refine in the practice? And it comes from feeling into the situation, what the energies are that are at work in me and in whatever I'm doing, whether in the market when I'm trading, in conversation with other people, what energy interactions going on in my Aikido practice, the energy of my partner, and how our energies blend together to create what, and how do I do that? So what I've come to, I committed to Glenn that I would get back to him, and my accountability partner Joe, I get back to him with, okay, here are my revisions, and I came to the insight this morning that it's, well, here are the deliberate intentional practices I'm committing to do and refine, because I know they work. I know they work both from hearing what works from other people and from my practice of it, that I know it works in my practice. And it generates better and better consistent results in pursuit of mastery, a never-ending journey of learning. So as I thought about the you dogs, the shift for me was, well, you dog, do you really want to hold this position forever? No. So when and where are you getting out? And how do I do that better? Because it's all in the exit management, as I've heard and as I've experienced. And what I find in my trading log is I want to reduce the XSR negative R, the XSR loss. So I've started measuring XSR loss, the R's lost above 1R in each trade. And I want to drive that as close to zero as I can. And the other energy intertwined with this is what percentage from my entry to the peak price, what percentage of that am I actually capturing? What percentage am I giving back? And how do I increase that percentage? Never get to 100, not the intention, but going from 15% to 60% would make a difference. So this tension between reducing XSR loss and increasing percentage of available R from my entry to the position gives me great insight to learn and practice and refine my practices as to how I'm doing this. I also have experienced over the last year and this year is that I generate more positive R in swing trades than I do in day trades. And the number of swing trades is far fewer, like maybe 5% of the number of day trades. Now, an insight for me is this year I am generating positive R in my day trades. Last year I didn't. So there's opportunity and benefit for intertwining those two. And this year was the first year I started to get into adding some core BMR positions. And after about February, being in a bear market, I said, well, I'll just focus on swing and day for now until we get back to a bull market condition. So there's plenty of territory for me to explore here, but it's about deliberate, intentional practice, consistently creating artifacts in my trade log in creating artifacts of what my practices are and why I've discovered that these work for me. And continuing to enter into conversation in the trading community about the practice. So committing to share more of this in a more coherent, concise fashion with a few slides in the research weekend invitation Ken sent. Continuing to work with the community and my accountability partner, and make progress. And create artifacts that document that progress. Those are how I continue to pursue mastery and be all in that journey. Aho.
Yeah, so I was in my reflections this week. I was all over the place, connecting the dots, and it really was about the zero state for me, about what to do when surrounded by fear and hope and greed and all that other stuff. And it really is about, for me, compressing into just the most essential. And that little diagram on that background there is sort of my focus icon for that, and it represents the indestructible ego at the center of my being. That when all else is gone, that's there, no matter what else. And I rely on that, and I trust it, and I don't apologize for it. I just accept it and recognize it. And the two red waves represent, this infinite pressure of the past and the future trying to intrude. And what Tom said about feel the 1 hour loss instantly. You already know what it feels like. How many 1 hours have you ever lost? Tens of thousands. I know exactly how it feels. So why am I worried about wondering what it's going to feel like if I take a 1 hour loss? I know exactly how it feels. It feels like all the other ones. So there's no mystery in that. And it only means what you decide to let it mean. And which is different than how you feel about it. What it means is what it is. It's the price you pay for being a trader. It was a decision you made to be willing to feel that feeling and feel the pain and the suffering or letting it go so that you could do the other things that trading will also bring. So feel the 1 hour loss, get that out of the way, and then salvage the position as an imperfect human. Just get on with it. The vertical connection there is that little spark of consciousness of the ego that connects heaven and earth all the way, the roots of everything that went before, the anchoring to the reality we're in, the heaven, all the aspirations and all that stuff. The problem with heaven and earth, past and future, is there's just so much of it. Once you start thinking about it, where are you going to stop about that? You don't ever stop thinking about it, but you can put it aside for a while, for a moment, while you're trading and doing the thing that has to be done. I think of the being all in as being trapped in a room with one door out and something between me and escaping to my kids. Kids behind me and I got to go through that thing to get through that door and get out of that trap, let's go. Let's go. I may not win it, but you're going to know that you're in a fight and that you're getting everything. So if you want to take that on, well, bring it. So I try to bring that sense of primal ferociousness in defense of the things that I'm all in on, the things I actually care about. And that's how I know I'm all in, when I can feel that like a switch being flipped in defense of the things that will be defended. Don't ask for much. I take only what I need, but by God, you want to mess with that? Let's go. I don't mess with yours. You want to mess with me? Let's go. So I think about how do you bring that primal feeling into the things you're all in on? I think about a Wolverine mother training the Wolverine cub on how to be a Wolverine. So the Wolverine is an obnoxious, irritating omnivore that even people that study them for their lifetime may not have ever seen, because you just can't find them, because they will not be seen unless they want to be seen. And they travel all over North America. They have an enormous territory. And so I think about the mindset that I use when I am managing a trade. I'm watching myself manage the trade, sitting in judgment of myself all the time. So there's a trader, and then there is the judge, the coach, teacher, mentor, the mother Wolverine. And she says, look, I don't even like you, even though you're my child. That's what Wolverines are like. They just want to be left alone. Well, they're also responsible. So the judge in me is a Wolverine watching myself make the trades to see if I can really be self-sufficient and stand on my own. So how do you watch that trader in you making the decisions, knowing that you are the judge? So I think it's more important to be the judge, the coach, the trainer of the trader, than actually worrying about the decisions that the trader's going to do. If you just keep in mind that represents there's 1,000 more trades coming, and I may not be there for you to train you, I got to train you now on doing those things relentlessly. So to me, that word is relentless. Training the trader. So if that's where you invest your effort, don't invest your effort in trying to be a perfect trader. Invest your effort in being the coach and mentor of your trading part. Because that trader is just doing what they can with what's right in front of them with the blinders on and doing that thing in just the tasks. And the coach is watching everything else and all the context, and you think about that's where you put your relentlessness. So you got to get separation from the trading part in order to be the judge, the jury, so that you can execute the trade, a judge, jury, and executioner. You got to be all those things. Those are 1,000 times more important than your trading part. Your trading part is a trained monkey who's been put into a situation that is favorable, and it's hard to screw it up, but you can because you're a monkey. So the Wolverine, to me, is the shaper of the trader, of establishing the boundaries and reinforcing the nature of, for me, what it feels like to trade and what I'm trading for and what I'm all in on. So I am relentless on that stuff. And that's the zero state for me. When my trader is free to just trade because this Wolverine inside of me is taking care of everything else, that's where I invest all of my energy and psychic effort and identification of self. The identification self in me is the judge, jury, executioner, the teacher, coach, or mentor, not the trader. The trading part is just a thing. So that little image for me right there is my little meditation focus point. I added a little exercise to that lesson, which you may want to go back and look at, which is all the things you got to do to get that mindset right. You got to have a trading metaphor or analogy, whatever it may be, and for me, I've used multiples of it. But when it comes to training the trader, it's the Wolverine, the mother training the cub. The trader is the cub. It's gonna stumble, mumble, fumble, and grumble. That's what cubs do. And the mother is engaged in the instinct for survival and is relentless in training the cub. And the only thing she's more relentless on is defending the cub with tough love against all enemies, foreign and domestic. You know. So that's the mindset to me. That for me is the zero state, when I have the perfect little trading cub monkey thing and the protective, risk averse mother Wolverine defending her cubs. Oh man. That's not a Buddhist release all feelings and all that stuff. But that sure is the zero state for me, in which I am completely focused on the task at hand and the surrounding supporting tasks. And that's how you know I'm all in, is when I'm being relentless. And that's why I coach those little 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds. And the constant reinforcement. Like at the halftime yesterday, we were had a 5-minute break to get a drink of water. They got a drink of water and they all came back to me at the halfway line, and we just spent 5 minutes with them repeating after me the essential elements. No hands on the ball, no hands on the ball. Don't kick the other team, don't kick the other team. Keep the ball on the field, keep the ball on the field. Dribble, 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 shoot and score. They like that one because it's funny. If you fall, you just get up. There's no crying in soccer. You just keep going. No toe kicking. Go to goal, shoot and score. Go to goal, shoot and score. Which way are we going? That kind of 5 minutes of that stuff sing-song. Play hard and have fun. Support the team. Love the game. All of those things. And they love that. And they're learning the essential elements. So you got to have those little trigger phrases. What are the trigger phrases that get your mind right? Snaps you into it. The icon, the flag, the marching in song, the imagery that is your vision of what this thing is in Happy Valley that you're defending and promoting peace and prosperity. What does it smell like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? What does it look like? How do you know on the inside? All of those things are in the zero state, because there's so much else out there that's trying to beat that down. Not because you're you and they just want to sit. No, because there's so much other pressures in the world. This is a world of forces in motion and erosion and collisions and pressure and all that stuff. And what are you going to be, you little lump of coal? Coal dust or a diamond? Figure out how you get a bunch of coal dust and put that glue in there and let the crystalline structure under heat and pressure form the irresistible, immutable diamond at the center of you that is invested with everything that you're all in on and that you're going to stand for in the world and do what you're all in on. And then don't engage in useless activities. There's not enough time for that. There's just enough time to do the most important thing, the best you can, and sign your work, and let's go. Aho. I just noticed how different it sounds when I have both headphones on and I'm getting the sound through this quality mic just into my ears versus when I take one off and I hear all of the other residual echoes. Astonishing difference. All right, so I'm going to hit the tones one more time, and I want you to think about the word that you're going to hear shortly that comes up, bubbling up into your head. Write that down, put it on a card, leave it on your desk so that you're thinking about that as your focus going forward into the week, so that we're thinking about that lens, we're thinking about the next lesson, we're thinking about your work in progress and all the other things. But what's your icon? What is your totem animal? What is your marching in song? What is your flag? What's your coat of arms? Who is your spirit animal? What's more important, the trader or the chief of staff or the command? All of that stuff. Think about those things this week. So here's the tones, and listen for your word. And I'll start with Tom Tom 1 when we get back. All right, Tom Sullivan, what's your word?
Ferocious.
Chun Long Lee.
Resilience.
Ernie.
I made this up. Compartmentalize.
Tom 2.
2 words, relentless practice.
Kyun.
All in, hyphenated. So it's still one word.
Tom, you took my word. It was relentless. Savagery. All right, this tone will move us into coffee talk. So here we go. Ernie.
You guys have really helped me with this, all of you. We talked about I think I kind of know when I'm all in. I think it's when you remove all the exits, and I really, it's really from the standpoint of relationships, and because I think about my relationship with my wife. I'm all in because I stopped looking for a way out, and it wasn't until I stopped looking for a way out that that I was all in. And I think that and therefore I don't want to be all in on everything because it's too important. It's too uh, if you're once if there's no way out, then that means everything ends when you end. And I think that's it's after listening to all of you that that epiphany finally came. So I want to be all in on investing, but I don't want to be all in on AMD or IBM or on a specific stock because that sucker's not going to drag me down. So when I go into it, I am going to look for a way out if there has to be a way out. But as far as investing goes, I do want to be all in on that because I think that, it was listening to all of you that I finally realized that's when you're all in. and it does come from the relationship. I mean, I'm sure if you have kids, you're definitely all in. There is no way out. You know, that's going to be your child forever, and therefore there's no way out of that relationship. There can be a way out of other relationships with different people, you know, when the relationships go bad. The all in is it. I think there's you really have to decide what's important to you, and are you really going to be all in? And I think that's something deeply personal. So, but I think I realize that now after listening to all of you. And so I owe you a debt of gratitude for that. I'm really glad to be a part of this because I don't think I didn't have that realization until just now. So thank you.
Yeah, it'd be nice if I could put a box around me and just be in one place without all these other noises coming in from the outside. Oh, this is better. Here, go here, go here. And I think that was just blocking out all that noise and focusing in one area through this lesson that brought a lot of that clarity to me. So I really appreciate this lesson. I mean, this is really eye-opening. Between this and the last couple of lessons, is really clarifying a lot of things that I need to really focus on and be dedicated to get where I want to go.
I'm going to try to remember to find this short essay on building the rooms in your house. And the guy was talking about how to, as a creator, create a sanctuary space where you're just absolutely focusing on that thing. And so it talked about, foyers and libraries and social spaces, and then a study room with artifact, and then a workshop and a reflection. It's kind of it's connected to the house of trading imagery, but what it does is it sort of takes exactly what you're talking about there, Tom, about creating a sanctuary space for absolute serious focus and commitment on task, and establishing boundaries and locking the door and getting the work done. Writers talk about that all the time, that the process of writing is simply staring at a blank piece of paper until blood drips from your forehead onto the paper. And sometimes it's like that. That's sort of an indication of all in. I notice in myself that when I'm getting ready for a piece of work that I'm gonna finally do, is that I end up going through a short-lived cleaning effort to clear the deck and and then crush. So it's like spread out, clean it, and then creating the workspace in which we're going to go into finishing it. So to me, that's sort of the emotional and mental state management, is having that imagery in your mind. So I can't remember if we've done the House of Trading image yet, but it's coming. I know it's in the Foundations course, and I show that variously. Sometimes it's like a soccer club getting ready for a big game in a formal contest. Sometimes it's the leaving the outside world into the ready room, where you take off the garments, put on your battle gear, walk down the tunnel of champions into the battle circle, naked and unafraid, and let's go. So thinking about the mind space that you're creating for the purposeful action that you're going to take. And it can be in lots of different forms. Where I might go to write poetry might be different than where I'm going to conduct statistical analysis of a back test. But it's an intention, and each intention demands its proper environment. Plan, prepare, execute, assess only applied to the management of mind state. You're trading off thinking about those other things in order to execute the thing that you're working on now. So if you think about that as being engaged in trading with yourself and all the other legitimate demands on your time, all the things that you're also committed to, each which has its own purpose, place, and time and attention, and now carving out a space for the trading piece so that when you're being a trader, you're all in and being that. And that's how people know is I close the door and lock the damn, and at trading, don't go in there when he's trading. You know what I mean? Or counseling, or reading, or writing. Establishing the here's the boundary. The green light is on, or the red light is on. That's how you know. And then find balance and harmony in all the other things. If it takes heat and pressure to make that diamond, you also need to have some time to appreciate the diamond. Right? So,
I'm gonna check out. Thank
yeah,
you
I
all.
gotta sit.
It was
coming up on 12.
I echo Ernie's comments. A lot of beautiful insights today.
Jeff and Sonal are going to be kicking themselves for their poor health management for missing this one. But they're young and they have time. Or do they? They have just enough time, like we all do. See you, Tom. Hey, I added last night's session as an interlude into the recording session, so that piece of the evolution of the swing trading and all that stuff. I think you're going to find that absolutely worth your time and attention. And I would go through that with a Cornell note sheet in mind. And I would, if I was you, I would make a timestamp on that and the key concepts that come out of that, because it was the entire swing trading course in about an hour. All of the, when you reduce it down to the minimum essential elements, that's what I was trying to do last night. So, halfway point. It's what kind of a race are you running? Do you run out a mile then come back a mile, or is it a 2-mile circle? Or is it a series of 100-meter sprints that, with micro learnings that add up to 2 miles? What kind of 2-mile race is this thing?
It's micro learning for me.
Yeah, and I remember what the in Ranger School, how they build mental toughness, is that that one of the things you have to do in 0 week is the 5-mile run at 3 o'clock in the morning with combat boots in formation, and they're trying to make you quit. And so so it's 3 o'clock in the morning. They wake you up with artillery simulators in the barracks. They have to get a waiver to do that. And then you get in formation, and then you're out there running, in combat boots in formation. You haven't slept for a while, really. They give you about 15 minutes of sleep before that. And then they run you out a distance, and then they run you back, and you can see the compound, and I just got to get to there. I just got to get back to the barracks, and then they run right past the barracks and keep going out an unknown distance. And then they loop back, and then they come back and say, oh, is this the time we stop? And then you realize they're just triggering your hopes and fears and showing you how useless they are, that all you're going to run or die. What are you gonna or quit? Well, if you're not gonna quit, you're just gonna keep running. And if you die, well, then we'll bury you with honors. Thanks for trying. So who are you gonna be? That's sort of they make you come face to face with your existential self all the time to see what you're about. A lot of folks look at Ranger School as a tactical military school, but it's not. It's a leadership and a self awareness course to find out how bad do you want to be there. And the guys that make it, you can't tell from the outside who's going to make it, because the biggest guys, the littlest guys, older guys, younger guys, the profile of people that quit are simply the people that quit. And the guys that stick are the guys who are there at the end. And it's guys who refuse to quit, who are all in. That's the race. Although the race doesn't go to the strong and the swift, I mean, that's a good way to bet, but there's something intangible in that too. Oh. Chenlong.
I would like to touch on the topic of all in. So time is a human being concept. Probably the animals, birds don't have a concept of time. If you ask them what time it is, the answer is no. So when we talk about all in, it is a mental state in the time, in the situation you're being in. Let's see, I'm with my wife, have a dinner, have a lunch. At that moment, what do you mean all in? So my intention is to have a lunch. Then I have no other thought about something else. I have no thought about some bad thing she did to me in last 10 years. That's not all in. All in is to appreciate the lunch she made for me with gratitude. That's all what all it means at that moment. When I'm learning, set up a 15 minutes time slot to learn what is collapsing dragon. What do you mean all in? My intention is to learn. I have no other thought about what is the dinner is, what my child will do. All in means focus on collapsing dragon, what the pattern is, what the Bollinger Band, Z1, Z2, Z3 means. That's all means all in. Yeah, I hope that helped. I hope.
Ernie.
I had a question for Chen Long. When you were talking about note taking, and you said that you weren't taking notes in China. I'm curious if
Not doing.
not taking notes
Okay.
earlier.
Well, yeah, I would say I regret it, but that's just how I learned in my past life. didn't realize that taking notes is important. Actually, many people talk about teach me, try to teach me how to take notes, just didn't pay attention. Our Chinese have a saying, uh, the best memory is worse than, the is worse than a bad pen. Is a meaning if you take notes, they overcome your memory. I didn't pay attention. I do regret. I have no notebook from all my university life. You know.
I'm the same way. I it's interesting, and we moved and I was getting rid of some of my old textbooks, really old textbooks. And, but I had no notes and things. And I know people that do, and it's amazing, to see what they have done and how they took notes. And I sort of regret that I didn't do that back. Well, I really regret it just from a learning standpoint that I didn't take better notes, because now, I do have all kinds of stuff and I can refer to it now, and it helps. But I was just curious when you said that. I thought, boy, that's me too. I did not take notes in class, and I regret that as well.
Yeah, I think that's just the way we learn. Maybe it's not really bad, right? I just don't know. But I do find out take the notes now force me to stop, pause a little bit, think, refocus. That's what I found out really useful. Pause, refocus. Otherwise, when the mind sway away from the topic, then it's hard to come back.
I'm worried that it's a sign of age because I used to could remember everything when I was younger. Now it's like I got to write it down that I'm going to do something tomorrow. So
Yeah, I actually think that a lot about aging. Um, um, I don't think aging make your memory bad. It's just you have too much information. In elementary school, you just need to remember how to do the addition, subtraction, divide something by something else. That's a really simple information you need for memory. Now you have so many experience, everything else will catch your attention. Then you only remember what is really important for you. That's my reflection on lost memory about many things. Whatever I don't remember, just that not important compared to the younger age. Younger age you don't have a lot. You know your family. That's it. Now you have a people, thousand people you want to know you involved with. You cannot remember all the names. That's my reflection.
Well, if you think about how the cavemen remembered things before writing, it was in the oral tradition, it was stories, it was walking around knowledge, and then it was the cave paintings that were the traditions that were handed off to the next generations, and those stories and insights were kept alive. My students last mug of walking around knowledge, because I would always emphasize with them, uh, what is your walking around knowledge when a general officer asks you for an important insight? What is it that is integral to you and the way you think and the lens that you're looking at? And to me, it's really the lenses. It's the trained binoculars. How do I look through that and see what I am looking at in a certain way? So, storytelling is how our brains are wired to remember things. You get a good story structure, a metaphor or analogy or a story that's populated with people, places, and things in a storyboard that collapses to an icon. Like that little image right there, I can talk for an hour on that because it unpacks. It's the seed that contains all the essential things. So those note sheets act like that for me. That is the coding that I use to get to recall on those note sheets. Uh-huh. Ken.
Hey, thanks everyone. I think I'm gonna check out here. But before I do that, I just want to comment on notes. I'm actually the opposite. I used to take a lot of notes, but I very seldom refer back to them. So and then I just carry on every time I need to look for something else. I reinvent it. Well, I don't know. My mind just is how your mind works, and I seldom refer back. I realized that because I used to have a book on my desk when I'm doing things every day, trades or also, meetings and write those things down. I actually stopped doing that and I just started using paper, like newspaper, and I write them down. And when that's filled up, like a day or two, and if there's some info, usually I just now I used to like go through to see whether there was any important information that I want, and if I did, I just take a photo, or I use on your phone. You can use Adobe Scan, which just turns it into a PDF, and you store it electronically, and then throw the paper away. Um, I think the problem with having, for me, is having a book with all these things. You never know. I'm a terrible hoarder. You don't throw it away. You think, oh, one day I might need something in there, and then you end up with this thing, a lot of clutter in your mind and in your life. So I just use paper, and I write, doodle or whatever. And normally it's just people listening to somebody write a few things, but I seldom go back to it. So I just throw the paper in away, and I find out that I don't actually miss any of those things ever. So anyway, leave you.
Well, good to see you. I have us coming up on 2 hours, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. And I'm also going to check out, but
Okay.
I'll keep the room open as long as we need. So, no worry.